Howdy folks, you find me on the banks of the beautiful Butterley Reservoir in Derbyshire. It's a fantastic place. This is actually the first time that I've visited this venue. I've been told about the bream fishing, I've obviously been told about the carp fishing as well, and it's absolutely stuffed with fish. It's still springtime, the water's really cold, and we're getting plenty of bites, which is fantastic really when you're talking about quality bream fishing. Let me talk to you about how I've gone about my session today. So first things first, I've prepared my bait. Now, quick look around the lake and obviously talking to a few of the local guys. There's plenty of carp anglers fishing this venue, and that means that a lot of fish meal baits are going to be going into this venue. To me, that means I need to be fishing fish meal baits for the bream. Obviously the bream in here are eating all that loose feed that goes in from the carp anglers, from the specimen anglers. They're getting big, they're getting fat, they've got a real taste for it. So definitely makes sense to go down the fish meal route. Ground bait for today is dark mix because the water is absolutely gin clear. I'm using milled expander and I'm using the black swim stim milled expander. It goes jet black once mixed up, and obviously like I say, in clear water I always think that a dark ground bait is the way to go. So simple to mix up. Obviously empty a bag into a big bowl, give it a nice big helping of water, sort of like at least 3/4 of a pint, quick whiz up, leave it to settle for maybe 20 minutes, another little bit of water, and then the most important part of the whole thing is to riddle it for a nice fine riddle. You get a really nice fluffy mix that you can squeeze, make a rock hard ball, but it breaks down so nice. That's the ground bait. Let me talk to you about the other baits I've got with me. I like to keep things really simple, and when it comes to sort of like clear water bream fishing, I like to have some target baits with me to feed, and there's obviously hook baits. So the main feed that I'm going to put through with the ground bait through the feeder is 2mm pellets. I've got some of the swim stim pellets. They're very bright. I can tailor the amount that I put in each feeder full, so I'm not laying a big carpet of bait on the bottom, but hopefully I'm just laying little specks of yellow all over the bottom, so you know, something visual for the fish to home in on. Again, preparing those is really simple. I use a little EVA tub with a lid and add the pellets to the tub, some water. You don't need a lot of water, you just need to cover the pellets, zip up the tub, give it a really good shake, and then just leave for half an hour or so. Once you've left them for that sort of like half hour, 40-minute time period, give them another quick shake, a bit of a fluff up, you'll open the tub and they'll be absolutely perfect. Again, you can squeeze them in a ball, but they break down into individual pellets. Really simple way of preparing those pellets. And then the other bait with me today that I've got is some dead maggots. Dead red maggots. It catches, you know, whatever species of fish all over the country, at any venue. It's a bait that you can't really go fishing without, and that's going to be my hook bait today. A nice, bright, big visual hook bait. I'm thinking double, triple, maybe even 4 red maggots is going to be the way to go. So that's the bait. I'm really surprised this chuck hasn't gone round. So what I'm going to do is wind this in, have another chuck, and I'll talk to you about the rig. Right, rig time folks, and while this fish is out there, I've tied up a duplicate rig so I can show you what I'm using today. I'm using braid on the reel. I think really important for bream fishing, the accuracy, the bite detection. It peels off the reel really nicely when you're casting long distances. I think it's really important. 010 braid on the reel, but with the braid you need a shock leader. So today I've gone for 12-pound shock leader, really robust line, pointless using anything like 6 or 8 pound because you just run the risk of the old crack off later in the day. The benefit of using a stronger shock leader is it's obviously thicker, which means it's slightly stiffer, which helps you get less tangles on your cast. So let's talk about the rig itself. All I've done is slide a little snap link onto the line, onto the main line. That runs free running up and down the line. I've tied a twisted loop in the end of the line. That's about 3 or 4 inches. Oh, I've got a fish. Play this fish in. I've got that twisted loop. Now, some people struggle tying those twisted loops, but it's really easy if once you get used to it. Simply a case of pinching the end of your line, both hands, and twizzling and rolling the line between your finger and thumb, and you'll create a nice tight twisted loop. The line will naturally go together and sort of like meet each other. Then I pull 2 number 8 slot shot down to that knot that I've created above the twisted boom. They act as my nice little buffer or sort of like bead substitute. I like the flat edges of those slot shot because the swivel sits really nicely against it and kicks away the hook length. Hook length wise, I'm using 0.16. I'm using a size 14 hook and I'm starting on a 70cm hook length. Nice happy medium length. I might go shorter, might go longer. And then that hook length is just tied loop to loop style. It's quite a nice fish, this is. That hook length is tied loop to loop style to that twisted boom. And it makes a really simple, free running, no nonsense, tangle free rig. And as you can see by the fish we're catching, it's obviously working. We've got the bait, we've got the rig, now we need to talk about the actual fishing side of it. The water's really clear today. I've been told that distance fishing is the way to go, sort of at least 50 metres on this venue. So I've used the measuring sticks, I've sticked up at 60 metres and I've had a cast around. Now I always like to use the measuring sticks because it gives me a reference point. I know that if I do hook a big fish and have to unclip, I can always go back and go around the sticks again. So I think that's really important. So I've had a chuck around at 60 metres. I've used a normal bomb, then I've just chucked on a little tiny bomb with some spikes on. That just helps me feel the bottom, feel whether it's gravel, find any snags, anything like that. It's a nice little useful tool, and I've actually found that 60 metres is fine. There's no snags there, no big mussel beds, anything like that. So I've decided to fish there. Really nice, comfortable distance. I'm using a 13-foot rod, braid on the reel, hitting the distance is no problem whatsoever. So now it comes down to all about timing and making the decisions on the day. So started off on quite a nice big feeder with the aim of getting a little bit of bait in the peg. I don't want to feed loads of bait at the start. I just want to get a little bit of cloud in the water, a little bit of bait in the peg and create a nice little base to fish over. I've put in 4 nice big feederfuls of bait. Again, just gives me a little base and I can work things from there. What I don't want to do is pile bait in at the start, then I'm sort of snookered for the rest of the day if it doesn't work. And then the tactic is to just chuck a small feeder over the top and just see how things go. You've got to remember the water temperature is still pretty cool. You know, we're in March at the minute, the water temperature is still pretty cold. So I'm using a little 4 square Nisa feeder, little rocket feeder, chucking it over. And that's great. Little cage feeder, I prefer cage feeder. I can ram the bait in if I want to, I can leave it quite soft if I want to, I can alter things that way. Then it comes down to changing your hook lengths. So started on a hook length today of 70 centimetres. I think that's a nice happy medium between being a nice short hook length, which is great when fish are really hard on the bottom, grubbing around in the feed, and a long hook length that is great for fish that are maybe following the feeder down or sitting higher up in the water. As we've moved on in the session though, I've had to lengthen that hook length slightly. I've gone to 90 centimetres, which just gives fish a little bit of time to follow the bait down. And the other thing that I've done is switch to a window feeder. Switching to a window feeder is a great option later on in the day. You know that there's plenty of bait in the peg already. There's still fish hanging around in the swim, but they seem to become bored of that cage feeder going through the water. So what I've done is actually put on 4 red maggots, so nice big visual bait, and rammed bait in a window feeder. That means that when I cast out, hardly any bait is coming out through the water column on the way down. I'm almost fishing a bomb really. I mean, me and Joe Crass talk about it, we call it the dirty bomb. You ram your bait in the feeder, there's a nice bit of smell there, there's some attraction, but really you're fishing a bomb, and the only visible bait and the only bait that's available is your hook bait. And obviously in gin clear water, it's so visible to the fish that quite often you'll get bites literally as your feeder settles and you're tightening your tip's going round. So it's a nice little trick for later on in the session. The other thing that you might have to be wary of when you're fishing that window feeder is you're not putting a lot of bait in the swim. So you can't constantly chuck that window feeder. What I find is you might catch 2 or 3 fish on that window feeder, then you have to reset up your peg again, maybe with a slightly bigger feeder, or maybe have 2 or 3 casts with the cage again to bring some activity back into the swim. But it's certainly worth remembering for those hard days. Casting frequency is also important. So on a venue like this, I always like to use a stopwatch. You know, it's not in and out fishing, we're probably casting at the start of a session every 6-7 minutes, something like that, and then tailoring it to as the day goes on. I know if I'm getting a bite within 3 minutes every single cast, it's pointless leaving it out there for more than, you know, sort of like 4 minutes, because you're just wasting that time. So you might as well reel it in, have another chuck. Likewise, if I'm getting bites and they're coming sort of after 10 minutes and I know that I've got to leave it out there for 10 minutes, that stopwatch is really important, and it just gives me a reference point each cast. Obviously, I can work things out in my head then and understand how the fish are feeding. Really important tool for any feeder angler, a stopwatch. So folks, I'm going to make this the last fish of the day. I've had a brilliant day at Butterley. Every fish 3.5, 4 pounds, some are a little bit bigger. And some tips just to get you a few extra fish. This fella, I caught him with that longer hook length, a bigger window feeder, you might have just seen that. And I've actually took a little bit of line off the clip and cast a metre past the main feed area, 61 metres instead of the 60. And this guy was hanging off the back of the feed. Beautiful way to end the session. Hope you've enjoyed watching.